What Lily Girl? What effing Lily Girl? This is High Fidelity. What is up, everyone? This is the latest edition of CINEMATALKEry on YouTube. My name is Robert Wilkenbrod, and we are here. We're talking about a TV show, but at the same time, we're kind of not. We're here to talk about the blending of the High Fidelity TV show that came out on Hulu last week, and the High Fidelity movie that it's based on, or somewhat of a reboot of, or a reimagining of, that came out in 2000, which starred John Cusack and Jack Black. So this is the first time we were actually going somewhat into TV, but we're blending it together because there's the movie aspects here, because a lot of this TV show, which stars Zoe Kravitz, blends itself with the movie, the TV, and from going back 20 years, there's a lot to it. The TV show. It's 10 episodes long. It's on Hulu. Episodes are no longer than 25 to 35 minutes, so you can breeze through it pretty quickly. I breezed through it within a weekend, and I rewatched High Fidelity, the movie, just to get a better sense of things. Sometimes you need to rewatch things, and it's cool to see how things with music were back in 2000, which doesn't feel long ago, but it's already 20 years ago. And between the High Fidelity High Fidelity TV show now, which features a lot more modern day music, but also blends in some more old school aspects, which is kind of cool too. It doesn't completely lose touch of the music scene from where it was a while back, before the rise of rap and more hip hop music. And it's cool. I frankly enjoy both the movie and the TV show. Some people might not feel great about either one or the other, but I enjoyed both. I enjoyed how the TV show here, it took nods from the movie, and it kind of reimagined some things in a way, but at the same time it took its own direction and made itself into a series that easily could get a second season, which we'll go into a little more. But they planted the seeds for another season, and it looks like it's getting good popularity so far, at least in social media. And I guess we'll see sometime if Hulu gives it the green light for another season, because Hulu hasn't exactly fared too well with its original programming. It's a lot more known for series that are ones that are just like have ended from years back and thrown onto there. Same thing with movies and documentaries. They've tried some of their original programming, some of it, and a lot of it just hasn't really worked. This was admittedly the first time I watched a full series of a Hulu show since season 1 of The Runaways, and I did not like The Runaways very much. So it's nice to see that Hulu's getting a piece of high quality content out there, and Zoe Kravitz is a very good leader for that. She took on the female version of John Cusack's part, which is the owner of a record store, this time in Brooklyn, and took that, and along with the nods of again, owning the record store but struggling, some of the lines, romancing the singer. You have some other lines that she throws in there that are based off of his, and the top 5 heartbreaks, which is thrown in immediately in the first probably 5 minutes of the opening episode. So she leads all of that back, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting. It grabs your attention. I particularly thought the first few episodes really grabbed your attention with her, because she's a more captivating presence than you think, and that's a very good thing. Zoe Kravitz, she just plays off well as the record store, and being that kind of like she passes off as the one who would enjoy music a lot, and the one who she just expresses well her emotions, going through all these different breakups or heartbreaks, and it's fun to watch through. It's fun. at times maybe she's a little more of an asshole than John Cusack's character was. But this is also a TV show that extends things out. We have 30-minute episodes or so, and the 2000 movie was a little under 2 hours. So there's a lot more to play with, there's a lot more to work with, there's a lot more to flesh out, and we get that in some of the same ways as I mentioned, especially with having the higher class partner that just doesn't work out, but then they go and visit them, which is Kat in this one and Charlie in the movie. Now we should bring up with Kat too. They made Zoe Kravitz's character bisexual. She briefly dates, well, at least we hear she dates this woman named Kat. Otherwise, she goes through a lot. Otherwise, I believe the rest of them were guys, but she was with this girl Kat for over a year, and first of a few directions of the LGBTQ plus community in there, which we also see with one of the main supporting characters, which we'll get into soon. We even have the episode 2 where, and this is actually cut from the movie, where Zoe Kravitz's character goes up to an apartment to buy, or a very high class woman at her apartment, and she's getting divorced and she wants to give away her records, and she has a really great collection of records that she wants to give away for just $20. And that becomes a whole morality debate of whether I should do this or whether I should not, because it's the husband's and he doesn't know about it. That scene was actually in the movie, but it was cut from the movie, so they took it for and aired it in programming for the first time like this, and it actually became one of the best episodes, with Parker Posey playing the wife who's looking for the divorce here, and you get an interesting play on more on kind of like if I should do this, if it's worth doing this or not, and you get an interesting back and forth throughout the episode, leading to one conclusion, which I don't want to spoil things too much here, but there's a lot to dive into in that episode, especially how it carves out a relationship too in there, which we get with the character Clyde, played by Jake Lacey, who becomes an unexpected star of this, because we didn't exactly get a second relationship out of the movie, and this one kind of goes side by side with Robin's relationship with Russell Mack McCormick, and we actually see Clyde show up within the first few minutes of the first episode, or I believe the first scene, and he sticks. And you think at first he's just going to be some guy who Rob's going to just hang out with and have sex with, and that doesn't turn out to be the case. And I actually really liked that. I thought that was really refreshing compared to the movie, seeing how Rob developed this relationship, but she didn't really know what it was to at the same time, whether it was just a friends with benefits thing, or if it was just something that was going to turn into more. And she seemed like she was teetering between what she wanted to do here, but Clyde really took it towards wanting something to happen, and we get that unfolding, and their ideas on this clash, and there's opportunities that are missed, and bad communication on both sides, and it really leads up to a breaking point within the final 2 episodes. So that was actually probably one of my favorite parts of this of the TV series, seeing how they brought in a new romantic partner to make that person that a more central figure on the show than you would have expected. Because you just figured, oh, maybe Rob's going to go through a handful of men here before she lands back on Mac. And as you see in the movie, John Cusack's Rob goes through a whole few different things before he lands back on the girl that he was chasing was with, and he was chasing and wanting back the entire time. They land back together. We don't get that definitively here. We actually don't even get a full resolution on what happened in that last scene. Now you did see something happen. You saw something romantic happen, but it was kind of brief and abrupt, and you don't know if that was supposed to spark something or if that was a one-off of anything. But it really turned in. It really was really open-ended a little bit, just a little open-ended, and getting that to play out in the second season, if there is a second season, would be a lot of fun. I'd be looking forward to see where we go with that, and then how she plays out with Clyde. So there's two avenues they can go down, or two avenues they might continue to go down, leading to one resolution. And I'm intrigued by that. And then I think we should talk about too a little bit with the dynamic inside the record store. Now, the record store is one that's struggling. Of course, now, as you see, it's 2020. Records aren't as big of a thing. You can easily just take your music and store it on your computer, iPad, iPhone, whatever other kind of mobile device you have, or any other kind of computer you have. Here, the record store is struggling, but you still get that cool dynamic between the three. You have dynamics between Rob and Charisse and Rob and Simon, both of which are interesting. You have Rob and Simon here who are actually former romantic partners, but Simon actually comes out to her as gay. And yet they may remain best friends. Simon ends up working at the record store, and they mostly remain buddy-buddy. They have a very communicative relationship. They know each other well, and they're very close. They're very close together. I get from their previous relationship. Now you have Rob and Charisse, which is probably the most interesting one here of the two, because you kind of see throughout the show that Rob and Charisse they have a little bit of a goofy dynamic with each other, but more of, you kind of see it evolves into Rob not really paying attention to Charisse, and Simon has to, again, as the communicator here, or the one in the middle here, has to point things out and make Rob notice things about Charisse that she wasn't paying attention to. How she was working another job, how she really loved music on the side and wanted to play guitar, and the problems with their dynamic. And you kind of see it erodes, it goes back and forth throughout the series, especially when the young singer that Rob goes after, that situation kind of gets in between it too at the same time. Charisse also disagrees with the kids that are being allowed to borrow records, which you would see that from the movie too, to use for their own music. So it's it takes Rob up until the very end of the 10th episode to realize that there is a dynamic here that she needs to better explore. And yeah, it takes some time, but you kind of see it may have boosted their friendship, maybe, perhaps. I'm probably giving away too much here, so I'll probably end up throwing that there's a lot of spoilers here in the mentions, because we're kind of getting a little further and further down the path here. But overall, beyond that, I mean, obviously, this is a show based around music, and we get mentions of playlists, we get mentions of records and old records, different artists and whatnot. So you get a lot of different things thrown in here, a lot of different music played, and a lot of things that even the viewer yourself, if you don't know a lot about these songs and artists, you can research them, you can download them on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your music, and you can listen to them and know more about them. I discovered a few songs out of this and a few artists, which I thought was kind of cool. I actually like using that in TV shows and movies sometimes. That can help me evaluate what else is out there in music, because you think you've heard it all, but then you hear more things and you're like, oh, I like that, I never heard that before. Could be someone that has 100 million listens on Spotify, or they have 50,000. It varies so much, but it doesn't mean you have to like one thing or the other. You can like a lot of different things. And there's a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed that I really enjoyed hearing from this. Now there were songs that were varied from I guess kind of hip hop and rap to some old school rock, and there was a whole lot of stuff here that we can probably get into. Or I'll just list a few of them off here. There was songs like "Me and My Bitch" by the Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls, as you might know him as. You have "Most of the Time" by Bob Dylan. "I Get the Sweetest Feeling" by Jackie Wilson. "You Got Me" by The Roots. "When I Get Home" by Beethoven. "Dry to Rain" by the Beta Band. "Skyway" by the Replacements, and there's so much more. I thought the music selections were terrific, and maybe I'll even post a Spotify playlist down here too with some of the songs. They're probably already on Spotify already, but why not? If you want thing you can access easily, I'll make up a playlist and I'll throw some songs out on there that are from the show that are particularly some of my favorites on there, because there's so many different songs on there that you can really listen to. There's probably 30 plus, maybe more. I'll throw in maybe 10 to 15, maybe 15 to 20. I'll see. But there's a lot of songs. The music is terrific. The music also purposely sometimes hits the nail on the head of things, which sometimes I don't love, especially if the music is blaring and blasting over the content. But when it sells into the background as a lower key thing that while the characters stand out more, I like that, and they do that particularly in the 9th episode with a pretty big scene that goes down, and throughout, whether it's music playing in the record store or the playlist that Rob is playing at her apartment, there's a lot to like here, and there's a lot you can discover, and I very much advise you to go out and discover that music. And the easiest thing you can do is if you say, I don't know. I'm not going to go type in every single song right here. What you can easily do is go onto your iPad or iPhone or whatever you use. If you have the Shazam app, use that or download it and use the auto Shazam feature and let it ride through the episode, and afterwards you go back and then you add that music into your playlist. Simple as that. It helps you discover things and lets you branch out into other kinds of music, and I think that's fun. I found that fun, so I'm going to listen to these songs. And also too, I should mention that Questlove was the executive producer and the music on the show, which should be another reason for you to go check this out, because Questlove is terrific. If you don't know much about Questlove, I advise you to go look him up. He's a music genius with this. Now for we want to dig a little deeper here beyond the music and some of the dynamics. I wanted to go into the episode they specifically give to Simon. They give Simon an episode, I believe it's episode 8, which is kind of a surprise. And maybe we'll end up getting this from more characters into next season, just because maybe this was a little bit of a teaser or a test. But the Simon episode was pretty interesting. Of course, Simon again is gay, and he ends up going through his own top 5 heartbreaks. The thing is, you get all 5 top 5 heartbreaks with one guy that he fell in love with and broke up with over and over and over again. Things just weren't working out. But it was the guy he was stuck on. It was a lawyer that he was stuck on, and it kept rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this was after Simon broke up with Rob too. So they went back and forth, and you see the mixing of emotions. You see how Simon doesn't react to things well, how he gets jealous, and maybe costs himself the relationship at times. There's also times too where his partner here kind of costs it as well. So it kind of flips back and forth, and you really get a look at where Simon is going with his own relationship stuff. Now, I would love to see where Charisse goes with her own. I wouldn't be surprised if we get that next season, if we get a Mac episode, if we get a Clyde episode. Perhaps we get an episode with Rob's brother down the line, although I don't think that's very important right now. I'd more like to see how Clyde views things, especially as he was left in a bar, or the day that he snuck out of the apartment. So there's a lot. There's a few things here you can go into for other characters. Now, Charisse with her side jobs, too much she's doing on her side, because again, she's a little mysterious. Not that, I mean, yeah, of course Simon has to point out what she's doing, but you really don't see Charisse on the outside. You only see her around the store, and I'd like to see more of her outside the store. I think that would be cool. I hope we get an episode of that next year, if we get a second season, to show her heartbreaks, what she's been through, and go from there. Same thing with Clyde. Same thing with maybe Mac, and how his next relationship fared. There's a lot to go into, and I hope there's a second season here. There's a lot of things they can go into. Sure, the movie is based on a book and whatnot, and there's only so much you can go into there, but you can still go the creators here are imaginative enough, they can go beyond. And they already started doing that with the first season here, and I think there's more potential to go into other characters, into directions with Rob, and really take the show into perhaps Hulu's best original series yet. Maybe it's not saying too much, but there's a lot of upside here, and I'm looking forward to seeing Hulu bring it back for another season, hopefully. And yeah, and hopefully we can get more of it here. So I know for movies we've been doing 5 stars. For a TV show I'll probably go out of 10. I'll go for this a solid 8. I like this as a solid 8 stars. It's a good show. It's a nice watch. It's easy. It's lean, and you can take things in pretty easily. Nothing here is too complicated. And there's probably a few episodes that are a little slow here, that maybe weren't needed. Maybe could have cut this to 8 episodes, or maybe even slightly smaller episodes in length. But overall, I like this show. I'll go back and watch a second season. Heck, I might even go back and watch this again at some point, after I go through some of the other things I need to watch. So that will do it for this episode of CINEMATALKERY. I hope you enjoyed this blend of movie and TV show. We might do this a little more often. We might even do some TV show stuff here and there, especially when the movie scene dries up, kind of like it is now. And we don't really have a lot coming out until the middle of March, which we're going to have plenty more content coming out in March. I can guarantee that. But yeah, this last 2 weeks of February are kind of slow. And there are shows we could easily cover. I just don't want to stray too far away from the goal of this, especially since we're so soon into CINEMATALKERY. But we'll see how things play out. You can go follow me at RealRobWilkin on Twitter. You can go subscribe. We still need more subscribers here. I want us to still reach that 100 mark, so that way I can change the URL at the top there. Make it a little more user friendly, or maybe just because it's just kind of old. It's 10 years old. So again, go subscribe. Let us know what you think of the show. High Fidelity below if you want a second season and whatnot. And pass along these episodes to your friends too. Let them know what we're doing. Let them know that we're going to continue making more content, and we're going to go from there. So thanks for watching this episode of CINEMATALKERY, and go and check out High Fidelity, now streaming all 10 episodes on Hulu.